You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam and I'm your host, and today's episode will be brought to you after these words from our sponsors.
Many of you have attempted to satisfy your confectionery craving with inferior chocolate and snacks. You have moped your way through bunta bars. You have wept as you have tasted what they say is gaflima dust. You have sorrowed as you've eaten crystallized mogo pears. Up your game. Take a challenge with your candy. Uggums are out there. So acidic they will kill 2/3 of all life forms. But what is pleasure without risk? Available only in Fringe Worlds or via the Shadow HoloNet. Uggums is the only candy guaranteed to try to eat you back. Tear open a packet, sprinkle it upon your plate, and battle your pleasure. Uggums. What is pleasure without risk?
Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 18 of the Coldfire Chronicles. My name is Adam, I am the GM for this particular cavalcade of nightmares, and I'm joined around the table by...
Hi, I'm Ross. I'm playing Agatha, a Morailan warrior aggressor whose emotional strength is his pride, but whose weakness is his anger.
Hi, I'm Mikey. I play Jiren. I'm a Chiss Mystic Advisor. My emotional strength is my enthusiasm, but my emotional weakness is my recklessness.
Hi, I'm Mim. I play Lassa. She's a human sentinel artisan. Her emotional strength is her curiosity, but her emotional weakness is her obsession.
Hi, my name's Ed Fortune, and I play the character of Oberon Brick. He is a human hunter-seeker. His emotional strength is his sense of justice, and his emotional failing is his cruelty.
Before we get started today, normally we'd go into a question from our characters or a question from me to our characters or something along those lines. We're not today. We have successfully escaped the Coster Thibaren, but that has put something of a tarnish on the souls of our bedraggled heroes. So what we're going to do instead is start with a quick morality check-in, and we're going to go straight to begin with to Agatha. Agatha.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So, what exactly do you have against Lassa? Because this is the second time in a row, pretty much, where your actions have directly put that character at harm's way, at risk. There was the time when fighting the dino lizardy type things back on Port Haven, where Lassa went behind you for protection, and you left her to run, jump over the swarming compy type beasts to take on the large crocodile, meaning that she got swamped, dragged to the ground and badly injured. And then this time on the Coster Thibaren, you took it one step further, because it wasn't so much by you running away and leaving her. You picked up the enemy that she was on and hurled her into the centre of another group of enemies. So what's going on there? What's that about?
Agatha's approach to bodyguarding
leaves much to be desired.
Yes.
Whose body are you guarding, dude?
Second time, Jiren's. Jiren was in danger.
So you thought to ease that by hurling another member of team not a frontline combatant, or indeed not really a combatant at all, into the Things of Justice member Jiren. Interesting.
Agatha was picking up the big thing, the biggest thing to hand, to smash it against all the things that were currently attacking Jiren. Lassa being attached to it wasn't part of the plan or part of Agatha's thought process, which is, the question being asked, certainly.
Yeah. So you didn't really register that Lassa was on there, or you didn't care?
Lassa's perfectly capable of looking after herself. She could have jumped off and she wasn't hurt by it.
Only because I'm a very generous GM. Because had you rolled a threat or a despair, she would have been caught up, stayed on the back of that and smashed into him.
That's a good point.
Okay. I think it's fairly safe to say that your emotional weakness of anger was very much in play there, not so much your emotional strength of pride, I feel. Because to me, from where I'm sitting, pride would have been staying there, holding it in, taking that challenge on, rather than getting it as far away from you as possible.
Which challenge at this point?
The big harvester droid. Same instance.
Same instance, but factor in, it's dark, and Agatha's not too fond of that. And literally, one of my friends has just had his arm ripped off, and we need to get stuff away from him as soon as possible. So
you threw another friend into that mix. Cool. Okay. I mean, yeah. I'm just interested on because obviously I've got to weigh up what kind of conflict hit you're going to be taking for this. So I need to see why Agatha did what Agatha did.
A lot of Agatha's decisions are not thought out much beyond I need to get there and hit it. So, and he's not very good at long range. So standing in front of something, yep, human shield might be a better role that he needs to adopt a lot more of. So, stay near the rest of his team and wait for them to come to him. That might be a lot better. But right now I'm comfortable with the fact that Agatha has failed utterly in this and needs to learn from this experience.
Okay, that's fair.
I as a player, I'm comfortable that Agatha has failed in this and needs to learn from it. Agatha
Less so.
Agatha's less comfortable with that.
That's fair. I mean, conflict isn't a punishment.
No.
It's just a reflection of the consequences of people's actions. So what I'm going to need you to do is to get a D10 ready.
D10 to the ready.
A refresher for both the players around the table and for our listeners, when it comes to rolling up your morality, I give you the score of how much conflict you've accrued by this stage. You roll a D10 and you reduce the conflict score by that number. If the number remains a positive number, then you drop your morality by that. If it's a negative number, then you increase your morality. So say you'd accrued 6 conflict and you roll a 9. 6 minus 9 minus 3, that means your morality goes up by 3 points. So the conflict you've accrued is 14.
There was a brief moment as I accept this number.
I like to think that I helped in that a little way.
Yeah.
By your actions throughout the course of the Coster Thibaren, by that instance, which seemed to me to be a real crowning moment of what's gone on, that seems to me to be a fair reflection of the conflict you've accrued throughout your actions. You'd also used, I should say for the record as well, you'd also used 3 dark side points, so that's also weighed into there as well, because you get 1 conflict for each dark side point you use.
I'm hoping for a positive number. It's an 8.
Okay, so your morality only drops by 6.
Thank you.
Only.
Okay, Ed, I'm going to move on to you next. So you've not used any dark side points, so that's good. I've kind of had a view on what Oberon's been doing while on the Coster and kind of lead up, and this is an interesting point that I want to kind of delve into you a bit more. This is my question. All the way through, from getting onto the Coster up until just before you encountered Mr. Flesh, Oberon was very clear, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it again, there's no time for negotiation, there's no time for debate, there's no time for thought, kill it. Yet as soon as you diffused his defense, or Lasser had diffused Mr. Flesh's defences, you knew who was on the next door, you didn't know what you were going into, out of nowhere you went, we need to give him a chance to surrender. So what happened there?
It doesn't come from nowhere. So previously, when we were on the planet, when we went hunting, there was a whole conversation about dumb animals and not beating them at their lair and that sort of thing. And then we cut off its power supply. We cut off its food. And it basically weeps. Up to this point, it had been an implacable hunting creature that wanted us dead. So the correct response, and all of his training for Oberon, was like, kill it, kill it, kill it, stop it from destroying us, finish the mission. And then as soon as it basically wept, his sense of justice swings in and goes, oh, this is capable of at least fear, of at least emotion. We have to give it. And he knew it was going to not surrender. And he had no idea what to do next. If it went, I give up, no idea what to do. He didn't expect it to surrender, but he felt he had to ask, because otherwise he's beating a creature in its lair.
And by the point that its power was cut off, it had kind of reframed itself in Oberon's mind from being this overwhelming threat to it's now beaten.
Yeah.
So it goes from being a challenge, an enemy to kill, to it's defenseless now. Is that?
Yeah, it swung into becoming a creature that was hiding from us and possibly no longer a threat. And then as soon as we give it an opportunity, it screams that it's going to harvest our organs again, so we shoot it. Which is why he was like, we have to ask. And then that's why he thanked Jiren as well, because he needed permission. He needed to hear that to justify everything he'd done to that point. Though he's always had a sense of justice, he's very new to this concept of fairness.
Okay.
Because he's never really lived in a situation where life is fair. As far as he's concerned, he wins because that's his family. That's who he is. They're the Empire, they win. And he's figuring out that the only justice that exists is the justice that you uphold.
Okay. Your conflict is 3.
Oh, watch listeners as I roll successfully a 1. I rolled a 7.
So your morality increases by 4.
I'm now at 42.
You're now higher than Agatha.
By 1 point, but yes, yeah, you are. But that seems right to me for the arc that Oberon has showed since that kind of revelation on Port Haven. That seems about right.
I'm having a lot of fun playing the Zuko if fans of Avatar The Last Airbender get that sort of reference.
They probably will.
But redemption is fun.
Lassa, first of all, you have used dark side points.
Yeah.
Now, this is my question to you. This is my kind of what I feel is the pivotal point for Lassa throughout this. From the first time we met Lassa, you've kind of seen the Force as a burden if it even really exists. I know that you'd had that way back where you'd used your powers to stop an explosion, and that was the first kind of awakening you'd had to that you had these Force powers.
Yeah.
Then there was all the training with Pyjak, which again, the feeling I kind of got from Lassa was that, yeah, she was going along with it, but still wasn't really a believer and was struggling to kind of manifest anything tangible.
It was more like a natural enhancement of her very self-defined skills. She was good, and this was part of her. It didn't make her good, but it could help her. But it's like some people are particularly good at playing a violin. It doesn't have to be magical. It's just the way it is.
And then we come into the Coster Thibaren. Again, we see you now kind of tapping into that natural enhancement a little bit more. You know, we started seeing you getting force died to your mechanics tests, which you know, you were letting yourself be guided a little bit. Then we came to the kind of gorilla lifter, big Dawutin creature by the medical bay. And Lassa went beyond just this natural enhancement to actively using the force consciously and deliberately. And that first conscious, deliberate use of the force was to destroy, because you reached in to a threat, but you used your powers to crush, to destroy, to damage. Again, in protection of your friends and yourself. This isn't a judgment call. It's just, where's Lassa's head? What was going on? What was her thought process there? And how does she feel now, having had a few moments to reflect on that touch?
That felt like using the other to her. Rather than her own skills, that was the first time she felt that she was reaching out and borrowing something else. Because as an engineer, broken things are there to be fixed. They're something to enjoy, finding out what they were for, or how you can reuse new things. Breaking things without a purpose that is a future rebuilding is quite harsh on her anyway. She doesn't really like that. She keeps things ticking over. But to use this very other force that wasn't linked to what she thought were just her natural skills being better than everyone else, it's thrown her a bit. She now knows that there's something quite big out there that she's got access to. She didn't like it, but she can't help but remember that it can be very useful. And it was a stronger feeling than all the other natural, reaching out and just always happening to grab the right tool, always being able to see the right solution. She could think that away, but that feeling of letting something else use her as a tool in a way, because she doesn't want to see it as being her powers that she chose to use. She very much wants to see it as, now there's something out there that she tapped into, but it's thrown her a bit. I'm not sure how comfortable she's going to be using it in future, but there's definitely the temptation there because it was easy, and that's the scary part for her. So much easier than trying to shoot, which she's rubbish at, but she could, I could mess this up good and proper.
And that's the lure of the dark side, I suppose, that it is easy. It is right there, just waiting for you to say, help.
Come on in, guys. Take up a seat.
So, factoring that in, your dark side point usage, your conflict is 7.
Okay, that's a 9.
So your morality increases by 2 again.
It's because she's very strong-willed about not using it now she's felt it.
Well, that seems to be what's coming, because in fact, this is our third morality check-in, and each time your morality's either stayed the same or just slightly increased. And it is every time just down to Lassa's kind of stubbornness, really.
Force of will rather than the will of the force.
Jaren.
Yeah.
You threw yourself out there. You gave in to your emotional weakness of recklessness, as in fairness you have consistently throughout the show.
Yeah, it's how I have fun,
But this time, the consequences of your actions, of that recklessness, is somewhat more tangible than a lost ship and a stint in prison.
Yep.
You've lost your arm.
Mm-hmm.
How are you squaring that away?
Yeah, I'm pretty fine with that. I mean, you can't be reckless and then get all caught up in the actual issue. I mean, things happen. I may lose my arm, I may be 3 years in prison, something terrible might happen. Terrible things happen all the time. That's not what I want to talk about today. Voice in my head. I'd like to talk about how I felt completely and utterly helpless, but not because I lost my arm, but because I couldn't do anything.
Okay.
I'm sorry to take it away from you there, but I'm not going to stop being reckless. It's what I do. It's something I've accepted. Things happen. You think on your feet. Sometimes you lose an arm. I don't know if you know much about chess, but we always like to be in control. And I have always been in control. Always. I know exactly what we're doing, know exactly what's going on. I work out what the easiest way of doing things that will benefit the people around me that I like, and that happens. And then we went to the Coster Thibaren, and I was useless. So I pushed, and I made myself more useful by putting myself in danger. And that's what the problem was, not the losing of the arm. The losing of the arm is a consequence. The issue I have, or I had, and the issue I am dealing with now, is that whenever I feel that I can't do anything, I make it that I can, and that will get me killed. That's what's going to happen. And I don't know how to deal with that right now.
And again, much like Lasse, to do that, you tapped into this dark side of the Force. You tapped into this easy promise of power.
Mm-hmm. Well, Agatha was going to die, and all I could feel is hate around there, so I used what I had. Okay.
So you used 2 dark side points throughout the course of the arc. I think your conflict is also going to be 7.
Okay, that seems... Oh, I rolled a 1!
So your morality drops by 6.
I'm back to where I started. On 50.
But again, that seems about right, really, because it's almost like your faith in yourself has been tested and found wanting to a degree.
Jiren isn't quite... He doesn't know how to deal with the fact that he couldn't deal with this yet. So he might get over it at some point, but right now he's not doing great.
Okay. So for our listeners, because I know you're all interested, our current morality scores for the crew: Agatha is sitting on 41, Lasse is sitting on 54, Jiren on 50, and Oberon on 42.
I'm moral-ish.
Only compared to us. Let's not go crazy.
We rejoin our heroes in the light of hyperspace. The Coldfire's Mercy is hurtling through hyperspace towards their rendezvous on Alpin with the Myrialan scholar they have been sent to find, now that they have successfully retrieved the holocron from the Coster Thibaren. And speaking of the holocron, we're going to zoom the camera into Jiren.
Hello.
Jiren is sat in Lasse's engineering room. Lasse is tinkering around doing Lasse-ish things.
I'm going to refer you back to me saying this isn't going to affect my recklessness.
And where we last left our heroes, Jiren had reached his hand out and had touched his bare skin against the orb liberated from the heart of the asteroid. You feel a tingling sensation, a static sensation, rushing up your arms, electrifying your veins, like the purest, most powerful calf hit you've ever had. Your senses seem afire, and a wave of energy washes over you, and you realise something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've heard a little bit about holocrons throughout your history, and what they are repositories of knowledge. This, by that definition, is not a holocron, because this is not a repository of knowledge. This is a repository of power. Pure, boiling, unfettered, unaligned power. The mists that are inside it swirl under your touch, and again, greenish lightning like one of those plasma balls crackles out to your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that if you try to draw upon the Force while holding this, it will bolster you, it will make that path easier for you. There is a faint sentience, a faint flavour to it. It's old, and it's alien, and it's feminine, but there's no personality here, there's no great captured wisdom of the ancients here. It is a tool, and a powerful tool.
Okay. Jiren is going to keep his hand on it. It doesn't make him shy away in fear, but he also doesn't push towards it. What he's doing here is he's holding his hand for as long as he can, without feeling tempted, without feeling afraid, just resting on the item. Not enjoying, but just appreciating the
sensation.
The sensation, yeah, exactly. Appreciating the fact that if he wanted to, he could use this. It's almost like having an addiction urge, but denying it.
Yeah.
just to see what happens, and he'll stay like that for maybe it might only be 30 seconds, and then he'll take his hand off.
What you can feel throughout the course of your connection with this is that, yes, there is power in here, but it is not full by any means. You can feel the residue almost from where whatever power is contained has been being drained away, which doesn't surprise you, really, given how it was where you found it, given the setup that was there. But there's still enough juice in there to get you jacked.
I imagine this was what was creating life in the dead things and using the captain's brain maybe to create Mr. Flesh. And this makes sense to Jiren. It's like, this in the right circumstances could be dreadful, but it's just a thing. It's not something to be scared of. The fear comes from how you use something, and he doesn't need to use it, and he's not scared of it. He feels a little bit, I imagine, a bit of modicum of control over the situation he had. He's still not right, but this is good for him. This is okay. He still didn't have control on the Coster Thibaren, but he has control of the thing we took for the Coster Thibaren when he takes his hand off.
No, he doesn't, because Lasso, as soon as he releases it, is going to wrap it up again and put it in a corner to be tested later. That's enough of that, I reckon.
What you notice, Lasso, is the longer Jiren held his hand on this, a greenish glow spread from his hand like an aura up his arm and up his body. And as he lets go of it, that aura fades away over the course of a few seconds. Jiren, you didn't notice that aura, you couldn't perceive it. What you do perceive, though, is as soon as you take your hand off this, you feel that sugar crash when all that energy just goes.
Whoa, that is not the holocron.
Right, well, what is it then?
That is a power cell for the Force.
Power cell?
Yeah, I can feel the power of just coursing through it. It was tingly. Let's not tell the other two quite yet.
It's all right. I've got a lot of tests that need to be run on it first.
Yeah. They've gone through a lot. I don't want them messing with it.
They've been through a lot.
Yeah, but you and me, we're better at dealing with crisis, you know?
Talking to crisis, how's your arm feeling?
Not at all.
All right, how's your lack of arm feeling?
I can still kind of feel it. When I touched the orb, I got pins and needles in both hands, if that makes sense.
I've heard of something called phantom limb syndrome. Some of the workers who've had limbs cut off by machinery have said they've still felt them.
Have you been around more than one person with their arm ripped off by machinery?
Oh, yes.
Have you ever heard of a thing called a common denominator?
Sorry.
Lasso raises an eye, looks at the arm that she's been busy polishing and making sure it looks nice, and then looks back at you and goes, do you want this or not?
Well, I'm not happy and I know it right now, because I can't, you know.
She can't help it, but she is smiling.
He's quite clearly joking with you. He's not pushing buttons, or at least he doesn't think he's pushing buttons. What he's doing is he's trying to make light of a situation.
And you're doing very well, because she's smiling even though she knows this is going to hurt like a bantha. It's really going to hurt.
Oh yeah, I imagine you stick those pointy end bits there right into my arm.
I'm going to have to try and reconnect the brain's idea of what your arm should be doing with this mechanical arm.
I'll be honest, my brain doesn't know what my arms are doing normally, so it might be more difficult than you expect. Have you done this before?
Only with a finger.
You put an arm on a finger?
No, I put a finger on a finger.
That makes more sense. And did that work?
Well, I'm not saying he's going to be playing the clarinet anytime soon, but he wasn't so bad.
Did he play the clarinet before?
Not that I think.
Because my days of playing the piano are over, but that's fine, because I couldn't play it before, so that's okay.
All right, levy up. Here we go.
What? We're doing it now?
Well, I don't see why not.
Because if you recall, you don't have a medical bay to attach it.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yep.
Bother.
Soz.
Oh, we've got to get all the way to a medical bay.
Sorry about that.
All right, cancel that.
Oh. He looks really relieved, and then he tries to control himself and goes, oh, no, that's a shame. Because I trust you in our little engineering cupboard we have here. We need more room for you.
I like this room.
You sleep in that chair over there.
So?
We need a room we have a bed in.
That is a bed.
Maybe a hammock. Or is it a recliner? Jiren
you just pad it out to where you want. You just put stuff under your feet if you want stuff, and then you kick it away when you don't.
We all have beds, you know.
I'm sure I've got one somewhere. But...
You do. I put my stuff on it. But I don't have to.
I'm going to spend a little time looking after myself then, if I can. I used 3 stim packs last time. Is this a new
No, you've not been to bed yet.
Oh.
Yeah. But you've got time. I mean, you've taken about 4 hours retrofitting the arm that you took from the Harvester droid. There's still about 7 hours worth of hyperspace travel before you get into the system that Alpin's in. There is plenty of time to get sleep, and with you being in hyperspace, it's not like there's going to be any obstacles or anything dragging you. Well, there shouldn't be anything dragging you out of hyperspace unless there's an Imperial interdictor somewhere around. So you can easily all just, follow Agatha's lead and fall asleep, slump by the door, and have Prinkle drag you to a bed. Or
what I'd like to do is send Jiren off to bed with some pain meds and a rough idea of what's going to happen when we shove a different arm back on him, and then take out the not holocron and try and connect it in to do some scans and have a look at it.
Okay. Jiren toddles off out of the engineering bay.
Before he goes, are you okay?
I'm fine. I've just got a lot of work to do.
No, yes, but for now you're stopping and you're going to tell me truthfully, are you okay?
Why on earth wouldn't I be? She says, rolling her eyes.
Because you do this. Because you roll your eyes and you say you're fine, and you're clearly not. And if I'm going to pretend to be the captain of this ship, I need to make sure you're all right.
Well, if you're pretending to be a captain, I'm pretending to be your engineer, pretending to go, I'm all right.
I don't believe you.
Good. You're starting to sound like a captain.
You need to go to bed soon.
You too. Now, night-night.
Okay. I'm going to go and put my feet on your bed. Wanders on.
Okay. Lassa, are you taking the orb out with your bare skin, or just dragging it out in the sack, or what?
She's going to put on her engineering gloves to deal with this, because she's been told it's a battery.
Yep.
So she wants to make sure it doesn't leak corrosive battery fluids on her of some false variety.
Okay. When you take it out of the sack, it crackles a little bit with that kind of static electricity tingle that you got when you first took it out of the housing it was in. But again, because it's not touching your skin, there's none of that euphoria that I described for Jiren. There's no weird aura that goes up your arm or anything. You can just feel that there is potential energy in this, a bit of a static crickle crackle. And again, it does arc out little bits of lightning to where your fingertips are, like a plasma ball. But other than that, it's harmless. It just tingles very slightly.
Maybe just a little touch. After trying to measure it and seeing how things come out.
Yeah, the strange thing is,
just a little.
As you're trying to use your equipment and your gear on it, you can't get anything to give you a reading. So Agatha's hand scanner, which lives in here when he's not taking it around doing shenanigans with it, doesn't give you any reading. There is no electricity or equivalent power source in here. It's just inert to that. Your various connectors and your equipment rig that you have for this sort of stuff, it's inert. There is no power being picked up by it. And I suspect that is the point where you then go, really? And then touch it with your bare skin, is that?
I just want to, what I'd like to do is, because she's still got in her head a battery, she knows that humans can conduct electricity because she's seen it happen and it's not nice.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Many an engineer that has been shocked by things. So she's just going to pick up a small light bulb and just poke it with one finger whilst holding the light bulb in her own hand, because she's really curious as to whether this could be used in an inorganic sense.
Okay.
It sounds scientific.
Sounds uncomfortable.
So,
Yes.
when you touch it with your bare skin, you get that sense of energy, of power, of kinetic juice that fries through your nervous system and jacks you up like the thickest, most potent pot of Navi tea you've ever consumed. You know, all the small hairs on your arms and the back of your neck stand on end, and you feel that there is this energy just waiting to be used, and all you need to do is open yourself up as a conduit, and you do that to see whether or not the light bulb will light up. And it's a strange one, because you've done the holding a battery, holding a light bulb trick because you're an engineer, and we've all met you, Lass, so we all know full well that at some point in your career you've buggered about with static electricity and that. The light bulb begins to glow green. That is not the colour of the filament that's in it. And you can feel that energy leaving the orb and going to the light bulb, not through your body, but through those nascent pathways that you've only recently starting to open up. In the same way that on the Coster Thibaren, you pushed at that door to be able to see what was going on inside the lifter droid, and then reach out with your mind, with your will, and break it. It's these same pathways that the energy is pouring out of the orb, through your body, through your will, into this light bulb. And as you come to that realization that that's the road it's travelling, the energy draw increases, the light bulb goes blindingly bright, and then bursts.
She lets go of everything.
The orb falls out of your hand, rolls off the table, falls, hits the ground with that kind of metallic dink, and then just rolls back into the corner towards your bag. Appears to be unharmed.
She rapidly runs to a table, makes a few notes, and then falls asleep in her chair with one thing on her open notebook if anyone does wander in, and it just says, Force-powered ships.
And we swing over to Oberon and Agatha. So Agatha is in bed, asleep in his bunk. Prinkle and Oberon had carried him there and deposited him. Are you doing anything in particular, Ags, or just enjoying the snooze?
I'm enjoying the snooze at the moment. Because he's very, very tired. He's taken a lot of damage during this conflict, and at the minute he's just resting it out.
Okay, he's quite comfortable. You have strange dreams while in hyperspace.
The dark and stormy night from the sound.
Yeah. You keep having flashbacks to being on the Coster Thibaren, but this time you're alone. You're just on your own. And without everybody else there, you're overwhelmed and you're torn down. And then you wake up with a start and kind of shuffle over and fall back to sleep. Then you're back in the Coster Thibaren, in the dark, by yourself, with things moving that fall on you and tear you apart. And you wake up, and you grumble, you fall back asleep, and you're alone on the Coster Thibaren, in the dark. How are you coping with that?
Not well. The lack of gravity in these dreams is not going to be helping with his ability to just stay easy at the moment. And I'm imagining at some point he is going to fall out of bed.
Yeah, that's the downside to being back in gravity and restless. Yeah, you do kind of fall out of bed with a thump. Prinkle's not in the room with you. You're alone.
In the dark.
So, the main lights are off, but there is a very, very faint, warmish orange light. And you realise that at some point, someone has installed a child's nightlight in the corner and left it on for you.
Aww.
So the room is just lit with a very faint but very comforting kind of warmish orange glow.
Actor is touched by that. I think he's probably just going to sit upright, watch the light for a while, and I'll say meditate. It's possibly not quite that at the minute. He's just taking comfort by the fact there's a light there, and if he does go to sleep again, it's going to be a bit rough, but while he's awake, things are slightly better than he feared. But I don't think he's going to go back out into the rest of the ship just yet. He's still recovering within himself.
Okay.
He's not done well today.
No, that's fair. But that's Agatha's night then. Oberon.
Oberon is still full of stim-pack. So when we get into hyperspace, we shuffle Agatha to bed. He goes back to the cockpit, makes sure that we're still in hyperspace.
Yep.
Does all the checks. Does all the checks again.
Tugger remains in his astromech dock on here. Mr. Sparkles remains in the basket on top of Tugger's head. And as you return to the cockpit, having dropped Agatha off, the Tuka kind of stares at you, blinks very lazily, stretches, yawns, and kind of jumps off Tugger's head, walks over to you and starts rubbing himself up against your knee.
Oh, Fuss the cat.
He jumps onto your lap, kneads very, very painfully, and then curls up and settles down in your lap, purring quietly.
Tugger, I'm going to try and get some rest. Wake me if you need me. I reach out for the blanket, which is just an arm's reach.
Yep.
Grab the blanket, draw it over myself. I have done this before.
Yep.
And recline slightly, carefully, so the cat doesn't attack me as I do so. And after getting into a nice position to go to sleep, I still can't go to sleep. I'm still full of stim-pack. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to tap into the living force.
Okay.
Because that sort of meditation often actually sends me to sleep.
Yep. And it's not too dissimilar from how you've been being taught by Pyjack for a while. It's the same meditative techniques.
Now, normally what Oberon does is he gets very curious and starts hunting down the various pathways of the Force, which is how his 4C works. He sees the pathways of the Force in his meditation and starts stalking them, starts going down them to see what he can see. This time round, I turn that insight into myself and essentially begin to understand my place within the living force and start looking at the connections between living things. I'm using sense.
Okay.
Essentially, but I'm using it from his perspective, he's trying to understand his tiny place in the cosmos compared to everything else.
That makes sense.
So as he taps into it, as it were. Am I making a force roll here? Or?
Do you know, I don't think I'm going to make you make a force roll this time round, because this is what you feel, Okay, because this is, again, it's the first time you've really given yourself into this power. And I kind of like the first time we do something like this, that you have the time to focus on it. Sometimes the role is because you're feeling the pressure of time, whereas now you've not. You've got hours and you're drifting away. And you feel yourself in the centre of an open space, really, and you can feel in your lap the heartbeat, the life force buzzing of Mr. Sparkles. And the emotions coming from him are standard cat emotions: contentment, contempt, superiority. At the moment, you are providing him a warm bed, as is your position as his servant, and therefore all is right with the world.
They have a sense of their own place in the universe and are ever so slightly cruel. He likes Tuka.
Your perceptions expand from there. You can feel fear and restlessness and concern from the bunk room that you know Agatha is in. You can feel that kind of emotional upswell from him. Not enough that it is not the call of the dark side, but it is, you can feel those emotions kind of lapping at the shore of his.
It's more the call of milk cookies and the extra blanket rather than the dark side.
Your mind kind of travels out. You find Pyjack, who is sleeping in his bunk, and from him you feel the sense of relief. That is his overwhelming emotion in his sleep. Relief, but also anticipation, a degree of fear and nervousness. He's very conflicted. On one hand, he's glad that you're all back and safe, but on the other hand, he might be finding out what's happened to his master, and those are two emotions are very much at battle, and you can tell that he's sleeping poorly as well. Your mind travels on further. You pick up Lassa, asleep in the engineering bay. Lassa, what's your emotional state at the moment?
She's mostly probably thinking about amazing green powers emanating from all of her mechanics tools and giant ships streaking through, starting with big old guns and having battles, but they've all got this bright green glow.
You can feel Jiren. Jiren, where are you at the moment?
He's not in his bunk, because his bunk is in the same room as Agatha's, and Agatha's being noisy. So he's gone and he's sleeping in your bunk room on one of the spare bunks there.
And what emotions are coming off Jiren?
There's a lot of everything. It's kind of, he seems, what's the best way of putting it? A little bit timid. He's quite clearly, it's messing with his head a little bit, because he's like, this is probably what he feels like when he's by himself.
So vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. When he's not showing off, because there's nobody else around, he seems a little bit vulnerable.
So Lassa's excited and Jiren is vulnerable. Oh, I'm a little bit surprised.
And then you realise something. In your mind space, as you're walking through things, there is a sun that's kind of casting a greenish tinge light. And then you realise that sun is Prinkle, and he's awake, and he's in the engineering bay, and his thoughts are of power, love, and vengeance, and they feel supercharged.
Darth Prinkle.
Oberon pulls himself out of his trance.
Mm-hmm.
Surprises Captain Sparkles.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so very sorry.
Mr. Sparkles gives you a look, goes back onto his bed on Tugger's head, and just gives you that cat stare.
It occurs to me that I've promoted Mr. Sparkles to Captain Sparkles. That's fine. Gets up, puts the blanket down, and goes to see Prinkle.
Prinkle is in the engineering bay. Lassa's fast asleep in the chair. He's holding this orb with both of his hands, staring into its depths. All of his fur is standing on end, and there's a greenish light that's surrounding him, like a greenish aura that's pulsing from this orb through his body.
Am I still carrying the blanket?
Yes.
Fantastic. I will bundle the blanket and whip the orb away very carefully.
Okay. As you snatch the orb out of Prinkle's hands, he slumps to the floor, kind of suddenly breathing heavily, and his fur starts to go down, and he blinks, doesn't see you for a few seconds, and then blearily focuses on you.
Oberon, my friend, what is going on? I heard the call, and I thought it was Lassa who needed me, and then I don't remember. I just remember, staring into a sun. What happened?
That thing that we brought back from the Coster Thibaren that caused the crew of the Coster Thibaren to enter tragedy?
The cursed item.
Yes.
Yes.
You were holding it.
Oh, I hadn't got round to building the containment box for it yet because Lasso was in here. I don't like it, my friend.
Do you have a very, very heavy box?
Yes, I can find one.
Please.
Yes, okay.
And he leaves in towards the cargo bay. He's very spacey, and his movements are very loose and swaying slightly from side to side. It's almost like he's drunk.
So I'm going to follow him, and I'm also going to concentrate my focus on my concern for Prinkle, whilst I have this thing wrapped up, and I'm trying not to think about that. I'm trying to think about getting it in a box.
Yep, okay. You can feel it tingling through the blanket, like static electricity on your skin. Prinkle goes into the engineering bay and kind of digs around a bit and then pulls out a metal crate that it looks like a weapons crate. This is possibly where, when this was still a warship, they'd had some munitions delivered. This was the crate that it came in. You know, it's got that foam inlay to keep thermal detonators from going off. So he kind of brings that over to you and opens it up. Still very spacey. And though he's looking at you, his eyes are clearly not focusing on you properly. And every now and then, his vision kind of swings to the orb.
Open the box.
Okay.
Oberon bundles the orb into the box. Closes the box. Prinkle, do we have any chains?
No.
Do we have any other form of security device?
I mean, Lasso's got a soldering iron. We could weld it closed.
Let's do that.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll do that. You give me the box. I'll go and solder it closed.
Let's keep an eye on each other. This is quite a dangerous thing.
Oh, that's why we need to solder it closed.
Yes.
It would be very dangerous if it got into the wrong hands.
I think it's very dangerous on anyone's hands, even you, Prinkle.
Oh, no, there's nothing to worry from me. I'm just Prinkle. It's just me.
Yes. Again, a connection to the Force.
Yeah.
What's going on with dear Prinkle there? Has he got more than one friend?
Now I would like you to make me a Force sense check, please.
I had a feeling that was coming. One moment there. I get to roll 2 dice.
I just want to know what's going to happen because Lass is going to wake up, go, right, so where is this very important thing that I was studying? And oh my god, where's it gone? Where's it gone? I want it. The precious.
Is I imagined this was going to happen and kind of had a dream about this, and then it started happening. I'm like, oh my god, I am actually psychic. This is incredible.
The only power that's available to me, predictably, is the dark side.
Okay.
And for the best of reasons.
You're not going to tap into that. Or are you? You are going to tap into it.
For the best of reasons, he is.
Okay.
The greater good.
The only power he can find is darkness, so he'll tap into the dark side.
Okay.
Even though he's trying not to. But there's nothing else. The only light is the stars. Everything else is darkness.
Okay, so take a strain.
Okay.
I'll mark up a conflict for you.
Thank you.
And we'll need to flip a light side point. And what does Force... It lets you feel their emotions, doesn't it?
Lets me feel their emotional state. I'm trying to find out if he's got any friends.
His emotional state at the moment is very confused and overwhelmed with longing, but there doesn't appear to be any more people in his head. It is just Prinkle. Though there's many emotions coming from him, they're all definably his emotions.
Oberon's gone slightly green, like not glowing green, but has gone slightly green because like he needed to draw on something, and the only thing he could find was the power that's emanating around here. So that's why he feels actually slightly sick. But he's done it anyway, even though he knows he's not supposed to.
But yeah, it is longing and desire and concern is what's emanating from Prinkle.
Prinkle, I think you need to go and have a very nice cup of tea.
But I can't let you use the welding thing by yourself. You'll burn your hands, silly Oberon.
That is true. Can you hold it whilst I weld it?
Yeah, I'll definitely hold it. Open the box.
No, can't open the box. It'll hurt you.
No, but if I hold it, then you can weld the box.
Okay, so it's in the box, it needs to stay in the box, and it needs to be welded shut.
Oh, but then how will we get to it? You're not talking sense, Oberon.
We need to cut it out later. No one needs to go into the box.
I need to go into the box.
I'm a minute away from putting it in the airlock.
Don't do that. We needed to find out where Coldfire has gone. Probably.
I get on the comm.
Yep.
Hi, Jack. Are you awake?
There's a few seconds delay, then you hear, I am now. What's up?
I need your assistance in the armory. we in the armory?
Yeah.
I need your assistance in the armory.
Alright. I'll be there in a second. Just give me a sec to put my strides on.
I like the fact that Lassa's just across the room.
Yeah.
But
And
you went
believe me,
hijack.
she's going to wake up if you take her welding equipment out.
It's less than a minute and Pyjack kind of joins you. He's only wearing, like, trousers, that's it. He's not... Well, you've seen Pyjack topless. He's covered in scars. Very ropey. Grey chest hair.
Pyjack,
Yeah, mate? What?
Pringle has had an encounter with the device we retrieved from the Coster Thibaren.
Yeah, he's looking a bit peaky.
He's very confused. I need you to look after him and take him away from this box.
Righto. Come on then, fella. Let's get you out of here.
Oh no, Pyjack, it's fine. You see, I need to be with the thing in the box to make sure everybody's safe.
Nah, mate, come on. And Pyjack walks over and just fireman's lifts Prinkle up, puts him over his shoulder, and Prinkle starts, like, feebly beating on Pyjack's back, like,
No, do not take me away. Don't treat me so badly. I'm no rug, I'm your friend. This is not how friends treat friends.
Pyjack looks over his shoulder to you and goes, I'll take him in the galley. And walks him into the galley, shuts the galley door behind him.
So now I go over to the engineering room.
Yep.
Realise that Lassa is sleeping on the welding gear and wake Lassa. Lassa.
Yep.
Lassa.
You're right. Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
I need you to weld something shut for me.
Right now?
Yes.
All right. Where are we crashing?
We're not crashing anywhere. I have a thing in the box that needs to be welded shut right now.
Oh, all right. She picks up her welding gear, and just as she's about to follow you out the room.
I'm not leaving the room.
All right.
I've got the box, I'm holding it. I'm like,
Oh, you brought the box to me?
yes.
Oh. This what you want welded?
Yeah. Weld it closed, please.
All right. Can do that. She's quite sleepy, but she's completely accurate. Grabs her goggles, puts them on, starts up the welder. No, don't look at it.
Yep.
Burn your eyes. Starts welding it. Gets probably about 3/4 of the way to welding it. So what's in here anyway?
That thing we got from the Coster Thibaren, I think it hurt Prinkle.
She stops welding. You mean that green glowy thing?
Yeah, I put it in the box.
But I haven't finished doing tests on it.
I think it hurt Prinkle.
How did you even get to Prinkle?
He must have picked it up.
Why did you pick it up?
I don't know, but it's something we don't understand, so let's lock it away for now.
We don't understand it. That's why I need to run tests on it.
Okay, let's wait until we're somewhere better equipped, and then we can always take it out of the box.
All right, but
The safest thing to do whilst we're in hyperspace and vulnerable is to put the thing away from harm's way and as far away from Prinkle as we can.
damn fool shouldn't pick it up. You know, I've got a lockbox here. We could have just locked it in the lockbox.
I didn't know.
He's a Chadra fan. Put it on a high shelf.
Friends don't let friends play with ancient artifacts of obscure power, the like of which humans should not have access to.
We could put this ammo crate into the lockbox when we're done. That's another layer of security. I'm a little bit afraid of this.
I was just starting to understand it as well.
We saw what it did to the crew of the Coster Thibaren.
Well, no, you saw what it did to a moron, possibly already scarily insane mechanical zombie.
But that could have been Prinkle, I think. I think it's more powerful than we think it is. I think it's so powerful it twists things.
All right. And she finishes welding it up, but she is muttering to herself at the same time. Could learn loads of this. Wonderful power source. You'd never know. I mean, hyperspace. Imagine it. Hyperspace. Travelling through the forest. Time and space. Could be amazing.
There's plenty of time to learn things. We could learn things. But let's do it very carefully. We don't have the equipment or the knowledge.
I'll get the knowledge and I'll build the equipment.
This could be a trap.
Well, it's locked up safe and tight now. She goes to the lockbox that she'd picked up at Port Haven. There's a bundle of something kind of shiny and mechanic-y. It's got a slight glow in it, but it's mostly covered in rags. And she pushes that to one side and fits the ammo box with the glowing orb in there as well. Closes it, locks it with a key, and puts the key in a jar up on top of a shelf.
Thank you.
It's all right.
I'm going to go and try and get some rest now.
All right. Someone looking after Prinkle?
Yeah, Pyjack.
All right, I'll give it a couple of hours and then I'll go rescue him.
Okay, I go back to my post. I swing by Pyjack to see what's going on.
Pyjack has sat Prinkle down, is giving him a cup of warm milky cocoa, and Prinkle appears to have calmed down a little bit. He's a lot less twitchy. Pyjack's kind of speaking to him in soft tones. Prinkle's gently drinking his warm milky drink, and then you can see him start to nod off in his chair, at which point, again, Pyjak picks him up very gently and takes him out to the bunk room they share.
Once that's done, I brief Pyjak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so whatever it is, the orb has been put in a welded box, and then that's been put in a lockbox.
Righto.
And I made it to myself, and when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. Sorry.
So it's as away as we can without kicking it out of the airlock.
Alright, that seems eminently sensible. I mean, I'm not particularly happy about it being on board, but if we need it, we need it. And after everything you've been through, let's just hope it's worth the effort.
I will be quite honest, I am scared of this.
Well, let's get the criff off the ship as fast as we can then.
I'm going to try and sleep.
You do that. I'm fairly well rested. I'll take the last watch until we get out of hyperspace.
Thank you, Pyjak.
My pleasure. And Pyjak goes into the cockpit, settles himself down. The rest of the journey in hyperspace passes uneventfully. You sleep.
I wake up once when Captain Sparkles is on my head.
Yep. You exit hyperspace, coming into orbit around the planet of Alpin. Alpin is a crystalline planet predominantly. It's a mostly rocky terrestrial planet. There is some water sources on there, small inland seas, but most of it is thick crystalline structures and outcroppings. And as you kind of come into orbit around, I think that's where we're going to end the episode today. This episode's patron is Liam. Liam is a Star Wars aficionado. We share in common many of fine Star Wars AP podcasts. He's a regular feature on our Discord, and we do enjoy chatting with him there and indeed on Twitter. And he's a thoroughly nice chap, really. He's good people, and he clearly has an excellent taste in shows. So thank you very much for your support, Liam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we'll see you around. And as for the rest of you, we'll see you next time. Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Fantasy Flight Games and Lucas Books. Our intro music for this season is Unholy Night by Kevin MacLeod, and our outro music remains Suburban Outlaw by Forget the Whale, both used with gratitude under the Creative Commons license. If you like the show and want to interact with us, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, all of which are at Force Majeure Pod, though Twitter is probably where you're going to find us more regularly. If you enjoy what we do and want to support the show, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is via our Patreon at patreon.com/forcemajeurepod. The second is by buying us a coffee at ko-fi.com/forcemajeurepod. And the third way is by rating and reviewing us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere where you can find us. We really like reviews. It tells us that we're telling the stories that you want to hear and helps other people find us. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.